Shenny, Shenny, Shenny. Soy yo. Simwin, mother of seas. Don't be surprised. You were the one who conjured me. Show us the magic, or did you forget? 'Cause you were born with all this magic, gifted to you by me magic. They tried to take it from you magic, desperate to burn off all this magic. It's time to free it now. The water will always be your testimony.
Something that kind of was interesting to me about this particular program that is so permeating into Slamdance, and such a really great thing about Slamdance is that they program with the mindset that there's a common thread that kind of spreads throughout, that kind of molds all of them together, brings them all, weaves them together in this kind of oddly shaped narrative. And I really feel like this year there's been a real emphasis on not just being aware and giving awareness to issues and of that's always been a staple of Slamdance, but doing so in a hopeful and a more just a more conducive manner, to be a little bit more on the positive, even though the message is not always, the subject matter is not always positive. And your film kind of embodies that quite a bit, and so I'm kind of curious from your perspective, your approach to making this film, and why do you feel like your film has so much heart behind it?
Well, first, I just want to say gratitude to you sharing all of that with me. I feel very like my heart just kind of grew a little bit from that. So thank you so much.
Sure.
My artistic partner couldn't be here. She's in London and she just got there. So I just want to first also, well, I want to additionally say, like, I couldn't have done this without her, Maria Marone. And so we came together and we're childhood best friends. And I had a play that didn't end up going up that year because of COVID, and so we somehow created this film with no idea that it was going to end up being a film. And I think throughout the process I got to forgive myself, I got to heal my relationship with my mother, and so it kind of opened my heart, my mind, my eyes, my spirit to a deeper understanding of what it means to heal, and that even though it is a painful process, there is so much positivity, there's so much light, there's so much heart when you really face yourself. And instead of shaming the women before you, because for those who don't know, my piece centers on generational trauma and how certain rituals are passed down. And for me, relaxing my hair was a ritual passed down by my mother. Her mother passed it to her, and such and so forth. And so it's like, I think there's a lot of narrative of putting blame on your parents, putting blame on the people who hurt you. And creating this piece, I've realized there's a lot of love when we forgive, and we have a deeper understanding of, my mom didn't know how she was hurting me. She didn't know how she was hurting herself. And that's what it means to heal generational trauma.
As documentarians go, part of the idea of presenting subject matter is the people you're putting front and center in front of the matter. And so in doing that, you have to gain a certain trust. Now, you have an inherent trust because she's your mother, but did you have to do a little convincing to her to put her not only on camera, but to talk about such a deepening subject matter like this?
Something that moved me so much is that my mom and my grandma are such private women, and within the culture, we're very private. And every time we asked her to do something, she was just so willing, and there was no force. She just surrendered herself to it. And witnessing her do that I could see her do it for me, even in moments where she was uncomfortable and some things like she doesn't quite align with, but she just let herself surrender to the piece because she saw that it brought me joy. And again, I don't want to cry, but like in that, I was very moved of like, wow, like my mom really loves me. She was willing to like, strip herself of her own fears and show herself in front of a camera.
The other aspect of making a film like this that is very personal and internal is the idea that you are going to go through something and to put yourself out there. And what happens when you do that, it gets harder and harder for you to watch yourself go through that, I would imagine. So I'm, obviously you had a partner, which is great, but part of, a lot of these films and a lot of the filmmakers I've talked to in this program, especially, made these deeply personal internal movies. And they all cite the idea that they had to go outside of the box to kind of get other people to eye on it, to see, whether or not so much if you were telling the right message, but if it came into a movie, right? If it would look like a movie, did you have to sort of go outside of the box and get some other feedback from people to see how viable this was as just a movie?
Having my partner was really beautiful in that way because, she was a lot of the outside eye where I couldn't be. But there were moments, again, we didn't know we were making a film. That's the crazy part, is that we actually didn't, that was never the intention. The intention was like, I was just going to show people on Zoom like some form of like experimental live piece, clips to some of my mentors. One of my mentors, Carl Rux, he just saw 5 minutes. He's like, this is a film. This, you need to submit this to festivals. This is not for Zoom, and then that's when we were like, we kind of stepped outside of ourselves. And when we had our composer Amir Leon like watch the film, and we asked her, would you be interested in just sending us some scraps? She's like, scraps? I need to score this. This is brilliant. And like, we were just in awe of everyone who watched it and was like, what are you talking about? You have a whole sacred piece here. So, I don't want to get too spiritual, but I think in that sense, it was like, we were just letting whatever we were channeling, we were letting that move through us to create this. And the responses of people that we trusted was beyond us, that we realized, whoa, like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, I wish I could always be that way, because I wonder if we came at it consciously deciding to make a film, I don't know if it would have been as special as this. So that was our experience.
That's awesome. I love that. That's happy accidents, right? That's usually how these things really come to be fruition. And really, that's when you discover the best parts of it.
Right.
Speaking of submitting to film festivals, I'm always curious, because Slamdance is such a unique experience. It's such a different type of film festival, and it is something that I think auteurs and artists really crave to be a part of. And so when you were looking at submitting this, was that part of your mindset? Did you know about the culture of Slamdance, and did you submit to it directly for that purpose? Or was it just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard and seeing which ones landed?
It was actually a friend of mine who's a filmmaker themselves who had told me like, this would be honored by a festival like Slamdance, and like highly recommended it. And actually, when I got the call that we got in, the way they spoke about their experience watching the film, I hadn't received from other festivals in that way. And so it was intentional, and also just seeing the way they understood the work and honored the work and honored us and honored the community, like even being a part of the Zooms with those folks, I immediately knew like, oh, I'm around like-minded people, and that's, I just want to continue in that direction.
Did you learn anything about yourself that you didn't know going into this process that you are going to carry with you, either as a filmmaker or as you personally?
Of course, I learned a lot, especially because we made it while in quarantine, so it's like everything was just so like this could never happen again. You know, like it just
Right.
it was so like such a unique experience in itself. But I think the biggest thing, or one of the most divine things that came out of it, is just like when I can really trust myself and like fully surrender, like I'm beautiful. I don't know if people will have questions about that. I don't know if that will be received, but it's like I've always struggled with letting myself be witnessed, and this
Mm,
I took a lot of space, and I was really grateful to see myself take space without shame, or just show where I was throughout the whole process. And so yeah, it's always like those memories of I've never seen myself be that brave before, and I'm a
mhm.
performer, so it's like, you know, you wouldn't think anything of it, but it was really sacred to see me let myself surrender to the process fully.
Now I wonder, have you caught the bug? Are you going to pursue film? Is that something that you're interested in doing some more of and experimenting with again?
Yes, Maria and I are actually talking about making this into a feature and actually going
Oh,
to
cool.
Dominican Republic and like going to the island and exploring more of like how we can tell this story, integrating magic realism with documentary. But
Nice.
she herself is a documentary filmmaker, and for me, I'm more of I'm a playwright, you know, so I write more into the plays. I'm in that world, but I am
Mhm.
curious about narratives. I'm curious about like entering into that as well, and how I can allow my own creative ideas of stories take on in a script. So there's a lot. I definitely caught the bug for sure.